Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what do you got?
What do you got? There's a little soccer going on today, huh?
We tried to mix a little bit. It was good. It was great to meet a few players and get those guys out with our guys, just to kind of demonstrate the mutual respect and all. It's a good deal.
You guys bring any coaching tips during the jersey exchange?
Not much. Not much.
How did bowling go last night?
Say it again.
How did bowling go last night?
Oh, very well. Very well. Yeah, went quite well.
Pete, the last
A lot of
one.
7-10 splits.
Sorry. Just in terms of prep, getting here, game coming up, how's the preparation been going?
Well, I'm glad we've been here for a bit, that, because there is definitely a physical transition that you're making, and we can tell. And I'm glad to get every day that we have. By tomorrow, guys should be, feeling a whole lot more grounded and all. Than by the next day, we're going to be ready. So I'm glad we were here as early as we came. We can just tell.
Since week 6, your defense is a top 5 unit by pretty much any metric or statistic when defending the pass. What do you attribute that to?
Well, there was we made a transition week 4 or whatever it was. We took a look at what we were doing and how our guys were fitting with the scheme, and we decided that there were some things we needed to adjust that was to fit our players, which is how we always try to do it, but we hadn't done it well enough at that early stage. We were trying to make it come together. So we made a couple of changes, and it just worked out great, and the players really embraced it, and they made it happen. It wasn't that much technical as it was physically placed them in positions and asked them to do some stuff that they were more accustomed to, and it worked out really well. And I'm hoping that we can just keep growing, because we still have a lot of learning in our scheme that'll take place, and we can get a lot better.
How's Daryl Taylor doing?
He did fine, did really well. He practiced last couple of days. He looks like he's ready to go.
You mentioned Tariq Woolen's press technique earlier in the week. How do you decide what techniques to coach each player? For instance, I saw Tariq using like a quick jam, which I hadn't seen from one of your corners before, especially in one high defense. So how do you decide? Is that like a trial and error thing? Or?
This guy's blowing you away now. For you rest of you guys, I just want you to know that. For you guys to think you're technically grounded in this stuff, Matty is, right? Yeah, he had a particularly good game last week, and things that we've been working on, he rolled out the whole ball of wax, man. He did it all, and meaning the change-ups and the different timing things that we do. After all the years of coaching it, there's a lot of different ways to do it within the technique kind of confines, and we always try to match it up to the person and his style and his abilities and all. And some guys have different traits, even though they look very similar. And so with how you do that is wait, watch them, see what they do, how they handle things, and then adapt to them. And with always keeping kind of the baseline of the principles together. So that was really astute for you to see that, because that was his first time he really did a little bit of everything that we've been working on. And thought it was that time that he could use it versus DeAndre, and he put together a really good game. So all of our guys, they have similar, it's like pitchers have, they all throw curveballs and changeups and fastballs, but they come out different, and that's kind of the same thing for these guys.
Is the outside read step, just on the press technique, is that harder with how NFL games are officiated now, when you take your outside read step and kick backwards?
No, it's not. No, it's no different. We've been confined by the 5-yard rule for a long time, and so that's just something that's just built into the way we talk and the timing of it and all of that now. But it's no different.
A couple of weeks ago, going into the game, both Tyler and DK were kind of question marks. They both had touchdowns that game, both had touchdowns last week. Just maybe it's kind of obvious at this point, but what do those two do together in an offense when you have both those guys going like that?
Yeah, well, they're uniquely different than each other. They're so different, and but yet they're both guys that you can count on to go to. And when they were banged up and barely able to make it through the week, they still delivered. They delivered just in the same fashion that they always do. I thought that was really a remarkable game for those guys because they just didn't have a week in prep, and mentally they were trying to work their way through. Didn't know if they were going to play until the very end of the week and all that, but they still just were great pros. And they backed up, came back the next week and did it again, and so they're back full strength and going. And so they played through it like rarely players can do, and that doesn't happen very often. The guys are able to play through the stuff they played through, but they did. And we've had guys over the years that have been able to do that, and some guys haven't been able to do it. It's the uniqueness of their makeup and all that pushes them through and allows them to adapt. And those guys did it. That was a great illustration of it. I don't know if you guys could tell or not, but it's really something. And now we're back to full strength for those guys. To have both those guys is great because the variety of things that they do uniquely, and so we try to use it all and expect them to do everything that they can do.
When you first picked up Michael Jackson, what did you think you were going to get at it?
Mike had good numbers, he's a big, strong kid and had a really good 40 time. He ran the 4.3s, and was when you go back and watch him in college, which I've gone back 6 weeks ago or something, because I was so surprised he was doing so consistently well. He looked just like he did in college to me. I mean, he was a really consistent football player back then. Wasn't spectacular, didn't jump off the charts at you, or in any way in particular, but that's what he's like right now. He's just rock steady. He just keeps doing his stuff, and he keeps coming up with the good plays. He tackles really well and defending the deep ball well, and he's able to make his plays. But not a lot of high-end stuff was shown, and so I didn't know what to expect other than he's a good, solid kid, and he didn't show much in practice, honestly. We kept seeing kind of the steady play again, and not until he really got in the games and was called on to play, and then we could match it up with what he was doing in practice. Shoot, he's making the same plays he's making in practice, and he just kind of crept up on us, and then I just bought in. I looked at all the background of the numbers and the plays he had made. There were so many of them. He was so consistent. I said, let's just leave him out there. Let's see if he can keep doing it, and he has. And so it's been really an impressive statement that he's made. He's a solid starter right now, and I'm really pleased with how he's doing.
The buy-in that you're speaking of, was that during when he got into preseason games this past season?
It really was started in camp, and he had been handling himself really well, and then when he showed up in the games, that's when it was kind of like, well, let's just keep pushing him out there and see what happens, Kind of made his mark, and he didn't do anything different. I needed to see him for what he was, all of us were kind of a little bit surprised, that he had done so well. So, what a great find! Now you look at him, he's starting in the NFL, he's doing a great job.
You mentioned yesterday the expectations and how you and the coaches, you guys never bought into what people on the outside might have thought. Was that just because you would never think that way, or was there something specific about what you thought this team?
That's a good point, because I try to say that I'm always going to be pretty optimistic anyway, and try to see the best of it. But there was more than that. There was more attitude, personality of this team that was so evident, and it was just such a, it was so clear that these guys were jacked up. They're going to do whatever you want them to do. They were having fun with each other. They liked pushing each other, competing against one another, and there just was there was no hindrance at all to our progress. It looked like, but we still got to do it, and it's taken us a while, and we're just getting started now. The last month we've played pretty good football, which is just the last month. We got a long ways to go, but. They followed suit all the way. They've been true to who they are the whole time, and never wavered when we weren't doing well, which was really a great sign too. So we got a lot still yet to get done.
Could you imagine the viability of having an NFL team permanently here in Europe?
Yeah, I easily could imagine that. They've got teams playing. They've got city teams and stuff like that. It seems, and there's all kinds of stuff. Matter of fact, there's a really cool looking, I don't know if it's a movie or a documentary coming out that Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to give him a little plug here. Christian McCaffrey's got it called Uniforms that we show the team today, showing the local teams that play and have football. So you can see it being fit into their makeup here. The travel, I don't know how you would put up with the travel. I think they'd have to make road trips, and stuff like that. And coming here it's such a drastic change, it's a big deal. And so I don't know if it would work or not. Maybe under a different kind of format, and then with the scheduling was maybe could play around, once you were over here or something like that. You'd have to work hard to figure that out.
You couldn't imagine now coming back, having to play a game in Seattle next week.
No, you could, we don't, just flying to the East Coast or the West Coast, but back and forth for us is, pretty good introduction to how this is. But for West Coast teams to play in Europe, it's a big deal, and the time frames, the time changes are so drastic that I think it would be amazing. Like, what time is it at home right now? Is it like 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that? 7 a.m. You'd be all screwed up. So you could do it, but it would take its toll, I think.
Your franchise went so long for not playing in these games and almost avoiding it at times. What have you gotten out of playing these two? Or you have to play this one, but what have you gotten out of doing this now that you've done it twice?
Just got over the fighting it, we're fighting it, because why would we have to endure this, But the fact that they've worked the schedule out with us and they give us our bye coming up the next week, it's very doable, and so when we got all that kind of consideration, it just seemed we didn't have any reason to not do it. And I like doing stuff like this anyway. So I think it's good for us, and it makes us stronger and better. We can handle and getting through the challenges of this kind of travel and all. So now that we're there and we've done it, we got a little bit of background. We'll see how we do. See if we can play another good game, and it has to do with the winning and the losing as much as can we play a good game that we can recognize our style and stuff. That's what I'm more concerned about than anything.
You've said that this already team is tight. Do these type of trips even bond teams?
There's no question. Yeah, if you do it right. Yeah, I think if you use this opportunity in that manner, I think it's very valuable. Yeah.
You want to talk about being here, you representing the team, representing the sport in a foreign country. How much pride is there just this becoming kind of an international brand of Seahawks fans from all over?
Well, I particularly think it's a cool thing that we get a chance to do that, and that's why we're working hard to respect the opportunity and to connect with wherever we can. I try pretty hard today. They don't care about us as much as we care maybe about being here. But so yeah, I think it's worth it. We're gonna try to make the very most of it and see how much benefit we can take away from it.
So, excuse me, may I ask you something off topic? I'm more into this game, and I would like to ask you a question about your host, FC Bayern Munich, FC Bayern Munich. Anything you like about the club or about your trip so far?
Yeah, it's really obvious, and it has been throughout the kind of the build up to the game, how classy this organization is. It's really been clear that really high expectations and standards, and we really appreciate the fact that they have their way of doing things that we couldn't buck them out of it today. We tried to mess around with them a little bit and have some fun. But they've got their way, and Coach has done a great job, and obviously they have a great philosophy. It seems very clear in that regard, and that's something I always respect, when you know that people know who they are and what they stand for, and it seems very, very obvious with Bayern.
It seems like a lot of the international fandom kind of really peaked on you guys when you guys won the Super Bowl and were hot in that stretch right there. Could you have imagined that stretch there would have birthed fans way
No,
up?
I wouldn't. No, I wasn't. No, I couldn't have dreamed that would happen. I don't know. I'm anxious to see what it feels like. When we connect with the stadium too. Maybe there is some chemistry there. I hope there is.
Ryan Neal's doing good?
He's fine. Yeah, he's in good shape.
And Marquise.
Yeah, Marquise did well today, and today was an important day. It'll be interesting to see how he responds tomorrow. This was his hardest day of the week, and see if he's okay coming out of it. But it looks good, and we're anticipating he's going to play.
From all your years of facing Brady, why do you think he's still playing at 45 and doing what he does?
He's an all-time competitor. I mean, he has always been that way, even when he was skinny and looking like he couldn't fit. He had something in him that he knew he could, and he knew he would someday. And without that makeup, the physical part of it would, that he's way beyond just whatever his physical confinements, restrictions, or whatever are, because he's such a great competitor, great brain, and he's found a way, and he also, a number of years back, he kicked into a different routine for himself physically that I think has really been, I think he created a roadmap for guys later in their career. And there's a book, and there's all kinds of stuff that he's put out about how he changed his thinking and his eating and and his expectations for how he could maintain his body. I think I don't know if it would fit for everyone, but he showed that if you work at it, you can find your own path to prolonging the athleticism that it takes to play at a high level. But without the mentality, he's an extraordinary competitor, and that's what's driving all this, I would think.
Is he perhaps the best competitor you've ever coached?
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that's ever been more so. Man, Ronnie was an all-timer, and there's some guys that stand out in my mind. He's should be in the first list of top of anybody's list.
It seems like offenses league-wide are using more pistol formations and sprinkling that in. What challenge does that pose for defense?
Well, the reason that people have done that is because of what being in shotgun gives you. It gives you, on the defensive side, if the guy's on this side of the quarterback, you know a lot about what's coming. When he gets in the middle and he's playing like in I formation, same thing. The split backs used to be the way, and shotgun was the way, and then Nevada or one of the college teams started getting in pistol, and so that you didn't know which way the team was leaning, because you really do have pre-snap alerts, based on the fact that the back's on one side or the other. So the pistol eliminates that.
What are the characteristics of a Todd Bowles defense?
Really, really aggressive, tough. They have a really good, really clear mentality about the way they play the game. So he must have a great philosophy and an approach, and the way he sells it, because they're always kind of similar. They are always similar. That kind of they are. And this defense is no different. They're tough and aggressive, and they come at you, and they have a wide variety of things that they do also that makes them hard, because you don't know what they're featuring each week.
Regarding your young rookie quarterbacks, Woolen and Bryan, is the matchup against Godwin and Evans the toughest challenge so far for these guys this season?
I think the challenge is for them. It's been they've been so good so far with their ability to stay focused and concentrated on it. The challenge will be to finish it. We're only at the halfway point right now, and I think it's the ability they show just to maintain the level of focus that they've been able to maintain up until now. I think that's the biggest question mark, and it's just a week-to-week deal. These guys have just played all of the games they've ever played in the college season. This is 12 or 13 or something, whatever it is. And what is it, 12 games now? 3 and 9, yeah, 12. So they played like a whole college season, and now the real thing just gets started now. The finish of a championship season, is ahead of us. So we'll see if they can maintain it. Every indication is that they can. But we'll see.
You've put a lot on the plate at Kobe Bryant, like lots of different coverages, even playing almost like an outside linebacker. Is that testament to his, learning ability?
Yeah, he is a really, really gifted football player in general, and that's why he was recognized, as the college player of the year in his position, because he did so much, and so many things were easy and come easy to him. He's just scratching the surface. He is such a great competitive kid, and he can see things and sense things, and he's aware, but he just needs to get through it so that he can kind of log all this stuff that's happening. He's going to be a phenomenal playmaker, I think, in the years ahead. He'll be a 5 or 6 interception guy, and he may wind up at 4 or 5 before the year's over. Already had 2 taken away, and he'll be a blitzer and a tackler and all that stuff. So he's got great makeup, to be a fantastic nickel corner, and he should be as good as anybody, I think.
What influence has Sean had on the defense?
Desai, you're talking about? He's had a tremendous influence. Clint recognizing his wherewithal and background with the system and all of that, he gives him a lot of latitude to help and to be part of the planning and all of that. And they're a great team. Those guys have really worked together beautifully, and so he has the depth of understanding that they come from the same notebook, and the same teacher in a sense, and from Vic. But Clint knows the whole system, but Sean gives him a really good back end influence too, and he's done a really nice job. He's been a great asset for Clint.
With Gino, obviously he's having a lot of success this year, starting to get a lot more attention. It's probably easy to forget all the attention he got in college, and he's a pretty big deal, obviously, coming out of
Sure.
college. But how have you seen him kind of weather this now that his maybe?
Yeah, it's been really admirable the way he's handled it. You wouldn't be surprised if he was a little bitter or something. The fact that people undersold him or whatever, and the way that people approach it, why everybody's so surprised. He's not. But he has just been so down the middle, poised and humble and respectful. And he's in the moment too. He really knows what's going on. This is not like he doesn't know. I mean, like with Woolen and with Kobe, you wonder sometimes if they know how far they're going and what they're doing. But with Gino, he's aware of what's happening, and he's just handled it really well. And I'm hoping he can just keep pushing through it, and nothing gets to him, and you can't rattle him in any way because he doesn't look like it. It looks like he's got it. So it's very exciting for us to see him handle things the way he has, because it gives us a sense that he'll be able to maintain it.
Pete, how you talking about the two
Last
rookies?
question.
Talking about the two rookies. How's Kenneth Walker embraced the challenge now that he started?
And he hasn't even wavered. He expected to play right off the bat. When we first got here, and so it's within his expectations that he should be doing well. It's kind of how he expects it to be. He's very confident in that regard, but yet also he's very humble, really quiet, soft-spoken kind of guy. But he's a fierce guy on the field now, and in practice field too. He competes his tail off, and there's a commonality between our young guys that they just all seem to be kind of able to handle what's going on around them, and it gives us a sense that there's why would that change? If we don't screw it up from the coaches end of it, mess them up somehow, they should be able to handle it fine. Ken's doing his part, just like the other guys. And, I think also we should mention that Gino handling his role and kind of his ascent, here is a really good indicator for guys on how to do it. And they don't see anything but that on our team. So maybe it's all fitting together well, and we're feeding off one another.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay.